April 24th, 2019. It's a quiet summer afternoon in mid-city New Orleans. But when a young man stops to talk to an instructor at a local martial arts studio, an unexpected, tense, and dangerous confrontation unfolds, with surveillance cameras rolling.
This all begins when a young man pulls up on his bike. This is nothing out of the ordinary. He starts asking her questions having to do with the martial arts class. She pulls out her phone. They're just chatting.
But then, the man does something shocking. He snatches her phone right out of her hand. But this story doesn't end there.
Boy, was he in for a rude awakening. He did not realize that that woman was a martial arts instructor.
This thief has picked the wrong woman to mess with.
If he would have looked up, he would have saw that it was the New Orleans Kickboxing Club. And he was talking to the master.
And this teacher is not gonna let this happen. She immediately jumps into martial arts defensive mode. She grabs hold of this guy's shirt. She's using her training to protect herself.
She moved in an instant. She had him by his shirt, and she pulled him back. She had him in a headlock.
The kickboxing teacher is Meredith Livingood. It all begins around noon, on what should have been just another routine day.
I had my first personal training client of the day, just about to get started, when a guy walked up to the door.
At first, she thinks nothing of it.
Pretty common that when people are walking by the studio, they usually peek in, and he just seemed like a teenager who might be interested in classes.
Meredith being Meredith, she walks up to him, she talks to him about all the different classes they have, all the different programs he can join.
I started showing him on the Instagram all the class schedules and pricing and trying to gauge his interest.
But then, with one quick, casual swipe of his hand, things take a shocking turn.
He got the nerve up to snatch the phone out of my hand and attempted to bike away. I just remember thinking like, oh, hell no, this isn't happening right now in front of my studio. This is not happening.
So then he tries to jump on his bike to get away with her phone. And she's like, you're not getting away. She is mad as hell.
So Meredith did what all her training has taught her to do. And then I saw the greatest butt-kicking ever.
Meredith, who first started training in martial arts when she was 8 years old, quickly gets the man off his bike.
I was able to separate him from the bike. The bike fell to the ground, and I was able to get him from behind. He kind of went limp in my arms. I got my phone out of his hands, threw that to the ground.
And that's when things get scary. With the man's bike on the ground, Meredith's student comes out to see what's going on. And then the man starts making threats.
I'm sort of herding him away from the studio, away from the bike. I was just shouting at him to go away, get the police out of here. And the farther that he got from the bike, the more aggressive he became and started yelling that he had a gun.
One thing perpetrators are not expecting to happen is for people to fight back. Now, it introduces a whole other set of circumstances that they are not counting on.
I think that knock to the head really put everything into perspective, because he thought he was gonna steal a phone, and now he's headlocked. He got punched in the head.
He definitely seemed shocked in the moment where I was pulling him off the bike and stunned while he was in the chokehold. So he was probably angry, he was probably scared, and I think I was kind of mad, and that just seemed to be escalating the situation.
So there's a really tense moment here where she releases him from her grip, and then he kind of squares off and threatens that he has a firearm.
And if he does pull a weapon, things could easily escalate.
We're in a precarious situation here. If he decides to use that firearm, not only is she at risk, but everyone else around her now is at risk.
He's not backing up, and she is not backing down. And she had a student at the time, so anything could happen.
I was definitely trying to stay between the guy and the student. And she didn't try to escalate the situation and kind of followed my lead. She picked up the phone after I threw it to the ground, and she didn't try to get between me and the guy, so that was good. And at that point, I wanted to de-escalate the situation and get him to leave. And I realized the farther that he got from his bike, the more he was escalating. He started to, puff up a little more and seem more angry.
At the same time, Lo Floyd, the building manager, has raced outside with a baseball bat.
So now things have gotten so intense. You have this guy with a baseball bat, you have a guy who's saying that he has a gun, and you have these two women who are just pissed off. This has become totally escalated. So intense to watch.
But to everyone's relief, the man just seems to want to get back on his bike.
This kid that is scared and realized he made a horrible, horrible judgment and just wanted to get out of there. He was trying to do anything to get back to his bike. By the time I made it out with my bat, the kid has already grabbed the bike and he's now riding away.
By now, Lo's maintenance man has also joined the crowd, who is confronting Meredith's attacker. And as he finally races off on his bike, they still don't know if he was really armed or not.
So the frightening thing about situations like this is that you don't know what these people are capable of. You don't know what's going to happen when they're so angry. It's really, really scary to be in it and to watch it. I mean, as impressive as her tough actions were, she was really lucky.
Still, emotions run high.
She still has that real tense look on her face because she was still caught in the moment. It was like a guard dog look.
What's interesting from a psychiatrist's point of view is that these are two opposing means of violence. With martial arts, specifically Taekwondo, you learn discipline, you only use aggression, as needed. Whereas with youth who commit a lot of crimes, aggression is something they use for personal gain. This young man on a bike is trying to use aggression to get something, whereas this woman is using violence to protect herself.
In the end, with the would-be robber out of sight, Meredith decides the best thing to do is just let him go.
The biggest concern, of course, is just that, nobody got hurt.
And the assembled crowd agrees to put the incident behind them without calling the authorities.
Nothing got stolen, nobody got hurt. So, yeah, I didn't really know what the point of calling the cops at that point was.
No one thought to call the cops because we didn't need the cops. Cops get called when there's a situation. We no longer had one. Meredith took care of that.
And with the danger past, Meredith decides to go right back to work.
We all had some adrenaline still, but used to channeling that into my workouts. So we just right away went back to class.
That's when Lo Floyd realizes that he has recorded the whole encounter on his surveillance cameras.
I look over at her and I tell her, we got all of that on camera. And her face went from mean to normal again. And she looked at me and she was like, wait, you have that on camera?
I wanted to see what happened exactly. And I was definitely happy to see that there was some actual martial arts.
And it's not long before those martial arts moves go viral.
A man tries to rob a woman in mid-city, but boy, was he in for a rude awakening.
And Meredith is called a hero, especially by other women.
Women love to see other women fighting back and standing their ground. And women love to support other women who are strong. So I can see why this resonated with a lot of people.
One lady in particular who told me that she had been scared to go out and hadn't been going out for months. And then when she saw that gave her the confidence to go back out. And that made me feel great that my experience had given somebody else more confidence to enjoy their life more fully.